In 2008, a manager arrived at FC Barcelona. He had never managed a top club before. He had never won a major trophy. He was 37 years old, and the first thing he did was tell the world something that nobody was ready to hear. He said, "Messi is not just the best player at this club. Messi is the best player this sport has ever seen. Not will be, not could be, was, present tense." In 2008, when Messi had not yet won a single Ballon d'Or, when half the football world still believed Ronaldo was better, when Messi was still just 21 years old, Pep Guardiola saw something that the entire planet missed. And, for the next 3 years, he built the greatest football team in history around that one belief. This is the story of what Pep saw and why it took the rest of the world 15 years to catch up. June 2008, Frank Rijkaard leaves Barcelona after 5 years. The club needs a new manager. The names being discussed are big ones: Jose Mourinho, Marcelo Lippi, even Goose Hidden. Instead, Barcelona chose their own reserve team coach, a man who had never managed in the top flight, a man the media called a gambler, a man named Pep Guardiola. The reaction was disbelief. But Guardiola had been watching. He had been studying, and specifically, he had been watching one player every single day in training, a quiet Argentine with a low center of gravity and eyes that saw the game differently from everyone else. Guardiola went to the Barcelona board and told them something remarkable. He said the entire system, the entire philosophy, the entire identity of the club should be built around protecting and unleashing that one player. The board agreed, and what followed was the greatest era in club football history. Here's what most people get wrong about Messi. They think Guardiola simply gave Messi freedom and stepped back. That is not what happened. Pep Guardiola studied Messi with the precision of a scientist. He watched hours of footage, not of what Messi did with the ball, but of what Messi did without it. His movement, his positioning, his scanning, the way Messi's eyes moved before he received the ball told Guardiola everything. Messi was not just reacting to the game. He was predicting it 3, 4, sometimes 5 seconds ahead of every other player on the pitch. Guardiola identified something specific. When Messi received the ball in a central position, dropped deep from the front line, he became impossible to defend because he was simultaneously a striker, a midfielder, and a playmaker. No defensive system in the world was built to handle that. So Guardiola created a position that had never existed before. He called it the false nine, and he handed it to Messi. Before Guardiola and Messi, every team in the world played with a striker who stayed high and central. Their job was simple: make runs, hold the ball, finish chances. The false nine destroyed that logic entirely. Messi would start as the striker, then drop into midfield to collect the ball. The opposing center backs had a choice: follow Messi deep and leave acres of space for Iniesta, Xavi, and Pedro to run into, or stay high and give Messi time and space on the ball in central areas. Both options were catastrophic. There was no right answer. The first time Guardiola used it competitively, Barcelona beat Real Madrid 6-2 at the Bernabéu. 6-2 at the Bernabéu. The football world had never seen anything like it. And the man who made it possible was not the one scoring the goals. It was the man on the touchline who believed in Messi before anyone else did. Let the statistics speak. In Guardiola's first season at Barcelona, 2008 to 2009, Messi scored 38 goals and provided 18 assists. Barcelona won the treble, Champions League, La Liga, Copa del Rey, the following season. Messi scored 47 goals. The season after, 53 goals. Then, the season that silenced every remaining critic. 2011 to 12, 73 goals in a single calendar year. 73, a world record that still stands today. Gerd Müller's record of 85 goals in a year had stood since 1972. Messi did not just break it, he destroyed it. And every single one of those seasons. Pep Guardiola was the architect. Not because he made Messi great, but because he was the first person with the vision and the courage to show the world exactly how great Messi already was. People called it a manager and player relationship. It was much more than that. Guardiola once said that coaching Messi was the greatest privilege of his professional life. Not a challenge, a privilege. Because Pep understood something that most coaches never grasp. Great players do not need to be managed. They need to be trusted. Every decision Guardiola made at Barcelona was filtered through one question. Does this help Messi perform at his highest level? Training schedules, tactical systems, squad selection, everything was aligned around that single principle. And Messi responded. Not with words, not with public declarations, but with performances that the sport had never witnessed before. Former Barcelona players have spoken about the atmosphere Guardiola created. A culture where Messi felt safe to attempt the impossible. Where failure in the pursuit of greatness was never punished. Where the only expectation was that you gave everything. That environment unlocked something in Messi that even he did not know existed. In the summer of 2012, Pep Guardiola announced he was leaving Barcelona. He was exhausted. He needed distance. The football world understood, but what happened after Guardiola left proved everything he had built. Tito Villanova took over. Messi scored 60 goals that season. The system Pep built was still running, then Villanova fell ill. The system began to crack. Then came Luis Enrique. Messi adapted, won another treble. Then came the decline. And here is the point that most people miss entirely. From 2012 onward, every manager who tried to replace what Guardiola had built was essentially trying to solve a problem that Pep had already solved years earlier. The proof of how right Pep was not visible when he was at Barcelona. It became visible in the years after he left, because nothing that came after ever fully replicated what they had together. In 2009, at a press conference after winning the Champions League, a journalist asked Guardiola a simple question. Is Messi the best player in the world? Pep paused. Then he said something that every person in that room underestimated. He said, "Don't ask me if Messi is the best in the world. Ask me if Messi is the best player the sport will ever produce. Because I believe the answer to that question is yes." Before the 8 Ballon d'Ors, before the World Cup, before the records, before the debate was even close to settled, Pep Guardiola stood in front of the world and told them exactly what was about to happen. Nobody noticed. So, what does this story actually mean? It means that greatness is never just about the individual. Messi needed Guardiola. Not because he wasn't great without him, but because Pep was the first person to give Messi the one thing that transforms good players into legends, a system built entirely around their truth. Guardiola saw Messi clearly, when the rest of the world was still arguing about Ronaldo. He saw the false nine, when every other coach was still playing orthodox strikers. He saw a generational talent, and instead of trying to fit that talent into an existing system, he burned the existing system down and built an entirely new one. That is the real secret. Not Messi's left foot, not the Ballon d'Ors, not the World Cup. The secret is a 37-year-old manager standing in a training ground in Barcelona in 2008, looking at a quiet 21-year-old Argentine and seeing something the entire world would spend the next 15 years trying to understand. Pep was right about Messi. He was right from the very beginning, and nobody noticed until now. Subscribe to NEY10HD for more.